So welcome everyone. My name is Alyssa Dominioni. I'm MBA 2018 and I have the pleasure of hosting this presentation with my colleague Clémence Pontuet, as well as several key alumni leaders and HEC international offices in Europe. This is our second Booster HEC Network in Europe regional webinar series, and there has been tremendous interest. So we thank you all for your presence tonight. HEC Alumni was ranked #1 network in the world, a great recognition to the strength and potential of our community. We all chose HEC Paris as a school that would help us boost our career, and creating connections with people is often the best way to do that. This is also something Clémence and myself experience as part of the network team for HEC Alumni. We have many people reach out to us saying, how can I connect? So we came up with this idea to do webinars on specific regions to give you an introduction to some of the main HEC key stakeholders in the region. And we started with Asia in July, and we're delighted to continue with this one on Europe. There will be more on Americas early next year, Africa, Central and South Asia, so stay tuned, and we hope to go around the world every year. Before we go into our presentation, we want to know more about you. You'll notice that this session is being recorded and you're on mute, and we ask that you remain on mute. But can we ask you to use the chat box to write your name, promo, class, and country of residence so that we have an idea of who's with us tonight. Great, we have Germany, London, Austria, France, Germany again, USA going very fast, Switzerland, Italy, France, China. Wow, a lot of countries. Thank you all again for joining us. Today, Russia as well, China again, India, great, Luxembourg. So today, after a brief overview of HEC Alumni Services, our objective is to introduce you, thanks to our alumni chapter presidents, to several key countries in Europe. What is this not? Unfortunately, we don't promise a job at the end of this session, and we can't cover all countries in Europe. Nor can we answer very specific individual questions. However, we want this to be an overview of the region so that you have a better understanding of your HEC network and of the markets, whether it is for business or for a job, and that you know who to contact to take the conversation further after this session. Now, can I also ask you to take 20 seconds to write in the chat box what you're hoping to get from this session? It will also inform our chapter leaders. So in the chat box, what are you hoping to get from this session? It also will help us shape future sessions like these. And we will be sending you a feedback survey at the end of this. Connecting, networking, understanding networking possibilities. Some contacts, connections, getting to know alumni in a new country, job hunting. Feel the dynamism of the network. Personal experience with networking and tips. Great, so thank you everyone. Feel free to keep sharing that. So before we go into countries specifically, a quick reminder of some of the HEC Alumni services available to you. You can find the calendar of events and contacts on hecalumni.fr on the website. And HEC Alumni hosts many events, which don't only happen in Paris, and of course, many of them are online. Recently, we had over 200 webinars. Through the directory, you can also search people per class or name among the 60,000 alumni around the world, or in specific sectors via the professional clubs or the international chapters on the network page. Remember to log in to get full access to the directory, as of course this is for HEC alumni only. And remember to update your contact information. This is very important. HEC Life Project, the new name for career services, which is the idea that HEC alumni wants to be with you at every step of your life project with three main focuses: building your project, being inspired to better innovate, and fulfilling your full potential. So you will find a range of events and online workshops around these, and you also have access to job boards and the HEC Pulse mentoring platform, as well as HEC coaching access. Finally, a reminder that we're able to do this thanks to all those who pay their membership, whether it's the Infinity Pass or the annual membership. So if you haven't subscribed yet and can, please consider it or contact your team to discuss. And make sure you also check the new HEC Stories magazine, as well as videos and podcasts, including in English. And you can find more information on hecstories.fr. So now let's go into the Europe-specific part of our presentation. There are over 10,000 alumni connected to Europe outside of France who are members of the European chapter networks, the largest representation of our overseas community, with over 20 international alumni groups, which we call chapters. So today we have alumni chapter leaders and international offices from 9 countries, and they will be presenting and sharing tips with you. We will also share names of contacts in other countries at the end of our presentation, and we will do our best to, of course, send you slides that include much more information that has been prepared by your leaders. So now let's start with our first chapter, which is the UK, and Karim is going to share more with you, and Delphine is also with us.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Alisa, and good evening or good morning, everybody. So the UK chapter is it's a big chapter, and we have around 3,500 alumni across the UK, mostly in London or Greater London. And roughly it's 50% from the Grande École, 20% from MBA, and then the rest is masters and exec programs. Now, what is interesting, we're lucky in the UK because we have a very active alumni chapter, thanks to a great team. We have the picture here of Delphine, Alisa, and Lorraine, but also beyond the team, you have more than 30 volunteers who animate a very big range of clubs. And because we have a real critical mass, that's a chance we have in the UK, those clubs, those events are very well attended. They're fun with people from all nationalities and all ages. And those clubs are in activities that are quite serious, such as finance, business, entrepreneurship, but also in more social areas, such as wine. We have a great wine club, we have a sports club, we have an arts club, and they're all doing events that are full and fun. On average, we have about 100 events in a given year, and that's a lot. So if you want to get busy with HEC in the UK, you can be busy almost every week of the year, twice a week. But now, joking aside, what's great about this is it gives us here a great sense of community. And I think if you speak to many of the HEC alumni who are active with us, they feel they are part of a bigger family. And the reason why I mentioned this is we'll soon talk about business, finding a job, networking, and these are values that are very important for all of the people who are interested in moving to the UK or London. Now, London and the UK, but London in particular, it's a great place to live. And despite Brexit, we have more and more HEC alumni coming to the UK. And the place, if people are asking, is it still hiring? Yes, it is hiring. It's hiring in a wide range of industries, but mostly, to be quite blunt, in the services industry. So what you find, and some of the stats are quite interesting on this page, most of the people in Greater London who have a job are in the service industries, and really three main areas. One is finance, and London is known for that. It remains a very, very active sector. Yes, a lot of people have left, in particular French people have left back to Paris in the last 2 years, but the sector continues to hire, reinvent itself. And I'm in the finance industry myself. in a private equity fund, and but I'm amazed to see how active the sector continues to be, and the hiring that continue to take place for people of all age. The second sector is all the professional services. These are quite obvious: the consulting, audit, legal. These sectors remain very active, and on the hiring side, on the alumni side. And finally, don't forget, especially for HEC, in the HEC community, you'll find a lot of HEC in media, tech, luxury, pharma. So if those are sectors that are interest to you, reach out to us. The beauty with the HEC community in the UK, because it's active, because there's a good sense of community, is that you'll always find help. At least I find, like, most of the people I speak to, whenever they reached to an HEC alumni in the UK, they got an answer, they were supported, and there's always an HEC alumni in one of the businesses that you may be interested in, if you consider the UK. So that's it. The last point I will make is, if you are interested in networking, this is very much in the in the culture here, the Anglo-Saxon culture. Feel free to send an email to myself if you are looking for. We do a lot of networking events by industry. So if you are in luxury, if you are in consumer, retail, or any of the industries, reach out to us. We may be hosting an event on Zoom where we connect people within a given industry. That may be a great way to learn about the UK and the job opportunities here. That's it. I think I heard the alarm, so it means I'm beyond 5 minutes. So I will stop here.
You're perfect. Thank you, Karim, very much for that. We're going to move to Austria. Thanks, Karim. Veronique joining us for Austria.
Yes, hello everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Yes, so I'm Veronique d'Autriche, speaking from Austria, exactly from Vienna, since 30 years in Austria and Vienna. And about our chapter, not as big as the English one. We are up to 10 active alumni in Austria. Good half of them are Austrian people who studied in Austria and then added a first professional experience and maybe then went to the campus. The others are young people, young French diplomas, coming for a couple of years to Austria and then making their way and going away. There is a quite high turnover in Austria, as it is a small market and a small country. So in a big company, you will come here, have a first experience in a small entity, and then you go back to Germany, probably if you speak German, or to another bigger country. To find a job in Austria, it is very, very important to speak German. It's different from Eastern Europe, where you would be able to find easily a job with English. Here, like a little bit, probably like in Germany, we are very similar to Germany. You do need the language, especially for networking. This is very important to know. The second point to know, if you look for a job here, there are expecting you have to be a specialist. It is again very similar to German market. If it's good if you bring an experience or knowledge of a market like Belgium, Africa, as an English-speaking people, for example, or knowledge of a supplier or product or sector, very important, or maybe customers. Then you have a much bigger chance to interest people. You have a competitive advantage, which is based on experience. It is not that usual to change from a sector to the other one, to jump like it would be classical in France. So it is a different culture from this point of view. Now, coming quickly back to our chapter in Austria, I said we are very few people. You will find us in FMCG, in lowers, we have lowers, consultancy. We also have some in the United Nations. Vienna is a very international city with United Nations, OPEP, OECD. So for people interested in international environment, it's a big opportunity here. What we are doing to support your networking, as we are, again, very small, we decided to meet together with other alumni. So we are meeting before 2020. We have been meeting twice a year for dinner with bowling, with Sciences Po, with ESCP, with Neoma, with ENA as well. Why bowling? Because we are sitting together for dinner and then we are playing together, which is a good way to mix together and to have to extend our network, which would be very limited due to the fact that we are very small. An important point for Austrian networking is we are very, very close to the chamber, to the French embassy, to the bigger network of French alumni worldwide. And the other point, we are very close to the Chamber of Commerce, French Austrian one. If someone is interested in Austrian market, of course, please contact me and I will give you the direct contact person in Chamber of Commerce. And we also have a platform for Emploi Français en Autriche. So Headhunter, who is helping us, supporting to find a job if you are coming with a French knowledge, for example, how to discover your strengths in this Austrian market. So it is a broader network, which you will get quickly to, because networking in Austria is very simple. You speak German, maybe only English, and you meet people. So speak and meet people, go to the embassy. I hope it's coming back after 21 or 20. This is a secret here. Go and meet people, call them, call us, call me. Don't stay at your email. It's, I think, not a real way to network in Austria. So I'm finishing now, giving you on the chart my phone number as well, and wishing you good luck and a nice evening further on.
Thank you very much, Véronique. We're now going to move on to Belgium. Joël?
Hi. Yes. Hi, everybody. I was quite impressed to speak after Karim, because we are not so big, and I feel much more better speaking after Véronique, following Véronique. We are approximately 500 alumni in Belgium, but it's, I think it's a very strange country. I don't know if there is other similar chapters in the world, because we are very close to France. It's a very fragmented country with the French-speaking people, the Flemish-speaking people, everyone speaking English, and also fragmented in the job market. Okay, we are 500, and in this 500, you have people doing things that are maybe not very usual in the HEC alumni community. We have, let's say, 50, 60 people working in the EU institutions. We have also people dealing with the EU institutions, let's say in trade organizations or in public affairs, such as myself, for instance. And we have also, let's say, there is a community dealing with the biotech. Biotech is quite important in Belgium. You have people working in real estate, in fintech, but it's exactly the same thing as a country. All these markets are very fragmented. I'm not an expert in all of these markets, but if you're interested in Belgium, please contact me, contact the chapter, and we'll put you in contact with people, specialists of each of these fragmented markets. The chapter has, before the COVID, we tried to organize at least one activity per month, several types of activity, some serious, some not serious, dinners in restaurants, museum visits, party. So we had a very beautiful summer party. Our main events was a pitching event. We bring some startups from the HEC incubator for one night of pitching in front of Belgium and French investors. Another thing which is quite specific to Belgium is we are very, very close to Paris. You can live in Belgium and work in Paris when it was very easy when Thalys had something like 30 trains per day. Now it's quite a little bit more difficult, but there is anyway, nobody is traveling a lot at this time. But we also have people from, let's say, independent entrepreneurs and people doing things which are not very usual in the HEC alumni community. We have 8 volunteers working with me in the chapter. One of them is a film director. Another one is a museum curator. And we also have someone working in the EU institution. She spent 10 years working for an international organization. So we are maybe a little bit different, but the market here is active. And what's wonderful is the quality of living. People are very easygoing. I mean, it's people enjoy after works, enjoy having a drink together. And so, no, the situation is quite difficult due to the COVID, but usually it's a very, very, very nice country to live in. If you had small kids, it's perfect because housings are big. You live in wonderful conditions, some things that you cannot imagine when you live in Paris, and for instance, and I don't know what else to add. If you have questions, please contact me, and we'll try to put you in contact with, let's say, some specific people. I will say maybe a few words if some of you are interested in public policies, public affairs, and so on. So you are maybe already a subscriber of Politico. Politico is organizing a lot of events. You have also a lot of think tanks organizing events, and that's, let's say, the basic to do some networking. And people are very, very open. If you have something to say, if you have something to bring, people are going to speak to you, are going to take some time to meet with you. But it's only one bullet. If you are losing, if you have nothing to offer, it won't work the second time.
Thank you, Joël.
You're very welcome.
Perfect. We're now going to move on to Luxembourg. Alain?
Yes, do you hear me?
Perfect. Thank you, Alain.
I will try to activate my camera. Hi, everybody.
The floor is yours.
Yes, okay. So, yes, Luxembourg chapter. Maybe to begin with, I would like to say few words about Luxembourg, because Luxembourg is not a well-known country. So Luxembourg is a very small country, really, but it's very international. You will be surprised to know that American companies here dominate the financial services industry. For example, you have a lot of Chinese banks. Of course, it's an European country, and as you know, Luxembourg is one of the funding country of the European Union. So European institutions are very present here in Luxembourg. In terms of industry, historically, the steel industry was very important at the beginning of the 20th century. Today, it's really the financial services industry that dominates the markets. For example, Luxembourg is a second place in the world in terms of assets under administration in mutual funds. So it's a really important center for mutual funds. The private banking sector is very dynamic too, as well as the insurance markets, especially the life insurance markets. Luxembourg is very close to Paris too, about 2 hours by train. You don't have to speak Luxembourgish to work in Luxembourg, fortunately. You can speak French, and you can also speak English. Everybody speaks English in Luxembourg. Every shops, bar, restaurants speaks English. So if you are an English-speaking person, you can live and work in Luxembourg without any problem. What else? In terms of industry, you have also the services industry is very important. The consulting and audit industry is a big employer, and you have also a very dynamic, innovative sector with a lot of startups, innovative startups, a lot of fintechs that are supported by the state governments. So it's very dynamic. So that is Luxembourg. So it's a very interesting country, even if it's small. About the chapter, we have a small chapter. We have around 300 alumni, maybe less, 260. So we have a lot of men, 80% of men and 20 women. Myself, I'm a partner with a management consulting company, and I am MBA 2005. And in terms of activities, it's classical. We have also, of course, drinks and restaurants when we can have it. We organized also some tours in some institutions here, European institutions, or Cargolux, that is a big employer in Luxembourg, or in banks, for example. So we organized tour for our alumni. A lot of conference also. We have also some. We had planned to organize a charity dinner that was cancelled. Myself, I'm in charge of the cultural activities, so we have a lot of cultural activities in Luxembourg, even if it's a small country. What else to know? Well, of course, personal relationships are very important in Luxembourg because it's a small village, it's a small country, so everybody knows everybody. So it's very important to network. And if you are interested, don't hesitate to contact me, to contact Sandrine, that is the president of the Luxembourg chapter. And that's it.
Great, thanks Alain. We're now going to move on to the Netherlands. Isabelle and Marie?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Isabelle Payet, and I'm the president of the chapter for the Netherlands. I graduated from HEC in 1990, and I now work as a finance manager for an American company, which is the leader of the veterinary diagnostics. We're a typical example of a company which has settled its European headquarters in the Netherlands, as well as the distribution center for Europe. So this is something that you will see more. I've lived for the last 22 years in the Netherlands, so it's a country I know pretty well by now. So what about the network? We are around 200 members in the Netherlands. It fluctuates depending on the year. This network is pretty diverse. There is only actually 30%, which is from the Grande École, 20% is from the MBA, 20% comes from the executive education, either the executive MBA or the executive master. And there is 15%, which is coming from the masters. The type of events we do with the network are mostly, restaurants and drinks. We've done in the past some more cultural related events, so, or going to visit a place in the Netherlands that maybe, foreign people wouldn't know about. The events we have lined up after, well, once COVID allows us to meet again, we are planning an event with Heineken, with Laurence Debroux as an host, and Laurence is the CFO of Heineken. And we also lined up an event with Philips in Eindhoven at their experience center. I must say that most of the events usually happen in Amsterdam because that's where the, most of the alumni are working. But of course, it's also interesting to go see other places in the Netherlands, as it's a pretty decentralized country. I will now leave it to Marie, who is going to take you to talk to you about the market landscape.
Hi, everyone, and thanks, Isabelle. Can you hear me? Yeah. So what is important to know if you are interested to work in the Netherlands? So although it's a relatively small country with approximately 17 million inhabitants, you have a lot of international companies in the Netherlands having their European headquarters based here. So just to name a few, Philips, Shell, Axco Nobel, or Uber, Nike, Booking.com, Heineken. So the good news is that working for such international companies, the business language is English. So that's really a plus. If you want to apply to SMEs, then Dutch is more necessary. When it comes to what are the international dynamic industries which are hiring, I would highlight the technology sector is really strong here, chemistry, the food industry, healthcare and science. So I've lined up a number of names there. I will not go through all the details, but in a nutshell, it's a very, very dynamic employment market. The unemployment rate used to be very, very low pre-COVID, amongst the lowest in Europe, together with Germany, and it's still going relatively well. Maybe one important point before I hand over is that you have a tax advantage if you are a foreigner coming to work in the Netherlands. It's a 30% ruling. It's a significant tax advantage because you are only taxed on 70% of your income. But important to note that you will be entitled to this ruling only if you apply from abroad. If you come to the Netherlands and then you apply when being in the Netherlands, you will not be granted this ruling. I think it's important to know that. And then, just to finish, local tips to network, LinkedIn, the HEC network works well, and just informal coffees. It works really, really well. The Dutch people are very informal. They like to have fun. They are quite, they are very friendly. So just be relaxed. It's not like applying in London, I would say. And the quality of life here is really, really good. So it's definitely a nice place to be.
Thank you, Marie. We're going to move on to Greece with Dimitri.
So, okay, greetings from Athens. Alisa, Clémence, thank you for hosting. It's good to be among so many members of the HEC community. I'm Dimitri. I'm an ex-city banker focused on ship financing. I'm also an MBA 96 and one of the first, I should say, students who crossed the Atlantic to go to Fletcher School to get the double degree. So I'm also a MOLD 97. And I'm focused on ship financing. Shipping, by the way, is one of the few things Greeks do well on a global scale. So, it's opportune to be in Greece and do shipping. The Greek chapter of HEC Alumni is a boutique chapter. Is roughly 70 members. It includes a number of Greeks that were or still are working in Greece, and obviously any non-Greek, I should say, who are currently based in Greece, and a number of Greece veterans who left but still want to have a contact with the local club. Most of them, as you can see, are postgraduate diploma holders, MBA and master mostly, 30% is Grande École. Now the club itself, in the pre-COVID era, we used to have 1 or 2 dinners or drinks per year, usually with some speaker invited to enlighten us on a hot topic. Obviously, COVID has changed a bit our habits. Given our small size, we also tend to cooperate sometimes with the alumni clubs of other schools in order to create critical mass and to, to increase the interest of our networking events. Now, the local market landscape, there are 2 national champion, let's say, industry in Greece. One is shipping, as I mentioned before, where Greece is a global champion, if I may say, since 20% of the global fleet, commercial fleet, is owned or managed by Greeks. And the other is, unsurprisingly, tourism, which contributes roughly 25% of the local GDP. Lately, we have seen a surge in FDI in the high-tech sector. So you have the usual suspects like Microsoft, Amazon, Oracle, and a number of private equity funds either buying local companies or doing some greenfield investing. And obviously there are a number of other industries like the agricultural, the food sector, which are quite developed locally. You have a significant presence of French companies in a variety of sectors investing in Greece. More than 100 French companies have invested, are present in Greece, and they employ roughly 30,000 individuals. A number of household names are present, as you can see. The French embassy is also very active in terms of supporting networking events and the activity of French companies. Now, Athens. Athens is the center of economic activity for Greece. So whoever comes to work in Greece typically would stay in Athens. That's not necessarily a bad thing. If you like the more relaxed way of living, Athens should fit you well. The Greek state is certainly something you should stay away from. It's notoriously inefficient, but language would not be a barrier. Greeks tend to speak English fairly decently. French a bit less so. The lifestyle is quite good, and in terms of price to quality ratio, I think it beats most European cities. Not the least because the weather is excellent in Greece. You have 65% more sunny hours than in Paris. And Athenians are fairly open as members of society, and they will be very happy to show you around and discuss with you. There are a number of associations locals, whether French related, like the HEC, the Amicale Française des Ingénieurs et des Cadres, or the French Alumni, whom I'm sure you know, or any other non-French associations of other major schools. So I think it's quite easy to integrate the local society. In any case, I remain at your disposal. Should you have any interest, happy to answer any queries of yours, either at my email or in any different way.
Many thanks, Dimitri. Thank you for all this. Arnaud, the floor is yours with Germany. We're moving on to Germany with Arnaud.
Hi everybody, good evening, good morning, good afternoon to everybody. So my name is Arnaud Bécuve. I'm in Germany for quite a long, I'm French originally, graduated master HEC in 96 exactly, and since then in Germany. I run a company, a software company in Germany. And unfortunately, we are not so lucky in Germany than in the Netherlands with this 30% income tax rule for newcomer. I love it. That's great. We don't have that. Sorry. And we are not also like Dimitri, where you have a super life quality as long as you can avoid any interaction with the state. In Germany, you do have interaction with the states, but okay. Let's go back to the chapter. We have, by the number, Germany seems to be a large chapter with more than 1,100 members. Yeah, but we have quite a lot of interested people who are linked to the Germany chapter, but are not really living in Germany. So roughly, I checked out that we have roughly a little bit more than half, maybe 650 really alumni living in Germany. And not in other countries. I spot quite a lot living in France, living in Switzerland, or living in the rest of the world. Of course, folks in the border region in Belgium or Netherlands or Switzerland, so might also register for the chapter in Germany. But yeah, okay. So 600 alumni in Germany active. We are in the chapter, we used to be before the COVID really active in the zone with 10 to 12 major events per year, where we organize the events according to the target region. Why the target regions? Germany is a federal state. We do not have any large city in Germany. Yeah, it seems kind of weird for the German when they hear that, but yeah, they don't have any large city in Germany. The biggest is Berlin with 3.6 million, Hamburg 1.8, but you don't have mega cities. So you have different centers in Germany, different regions with completely different economic focus. For instance, in south of Germany, in all around Stuttgart, is of course the automotive industry, which is very strong over there, while you will find in Berlin a completely different landscape, more on high-tech, IT, and topic like this. But Tesla is just coming to Berlin and will open a new factory. But generally speaking, you have those centers, kind of regional specialization into the different within the different regions and cities. Yeah. What you need to know in Germany, if you're looking for employment opportunity, don't forget about the hidden champions. In between those centers, like Berlin, Hamburg, Munich, Cologne, and so on. Yeah. There is a lot of hidden champions, most of the times market leader, worldwide market leader, but in an area where you would never expect to see such a big company. So that's a major aspect in Germany. Generally speaking, it's not concentrating, but everything is spread all over the country. Yeah, and a little bit less in the east side of the country, but generally speaking, spread all over the country. The unemployment rate is still very low. We went down to 5.5% last year with the COVID crisis. Germany will move up to 5.9%, but it's still a very good rate. And in the major cities like Munich, like Stuttgart or Hamburg, the employment rate is all around 3%. So that's a very dynamic country. But never forget, this country has a very high poverty rate. Yeah, surprisingly enough, the poverty rate in Germany is officially above the one of Cambodia. Yeah, with almost 60%. It's one above about France. So it's one of the bad country in Europe regarding poverty. The reason is that Germany has a really dual systems regarding education, health, and everything. Yeah. To get in touch, get some hint, and so just contact me. We have a very small team in the chapter, only 3 of us, and we try to manage as much events as possible. Yeah. With our next one being a virtual networking event on the 7th of December. Yeah, so please feel free to join. Thank you.
Brilliant, thanks Arnaud. We're now moving on to Switzerland with Olivier.
Yes, good evening. So Switzerland, small country, big chapter. We are about 1,600 alumni, which is the second largest chapter after UK, actually, outside France. And now it's a bit like Germany. We know that there are about 300 alumni who are registered on the Swiss chapter but don't live in Switzerland. Most of them actually live around, like if you take from Genève on the French side to Evian, to Annecy, and these places, and plus some of them also who live in Paris area but go regularly to Switzerland or used to live in Switzerland. But even with this part of alumni living not in Switzerland itself, it remains a large community. And thanks to that, we can actually have some traction to develop meaningful activities. The community is spread mostly between the three cities, Genève and Lausanne on the French-speaking side, and Zurich on the German-speaking side. Traditionally, if you come back, let's say 20 or 30 years ago, the community was very much centered on Geneva. And today, I mean, in the past 5 or 10 years, the Zurich community has really increased the most. And the community is a very diverse backgrounds. There is a mix. I didn't make the calculation, but there is a really good mix between Grande École, MBA, EMBA, and other diplomas. There are also people from a lot of countries actually who live in Switzerland, especially in Zurich. Zurich is completely international. Actually, when we organize events in Zurich, we do it in English because there are a certain number of alumni who don't even speak French. So it's really, really diverse, even more in Zurich than elsewhere in Switzerland. In terms of activities, well, this year again is a special year because of COVID, but usually we do one apéro, as we call it, once a month in Genève or Lausanne, once a quarter in Zurich, and also once a quarter we try to, and we actually do organize a lunch or a dinner with a guest speaker. And I would say every other year, usually we have a larger event with people coming from Paris, from the foundation or from the association. What is the country about? Well, it's a very, I mean, small country, but also very powerful country, economically speaking. There are, like in the Netherlands, actually, a lot of large companies which are quite well known in banks and financial services, in pharma, mechanical, professional services, luxury goods, and hospitality. There are also, especially in Geneva area, NGOs and UN, United Nations bodies, which are quite significant in the Geneva part. Yes, there's a question actually about startup ecosystem, which I forgot to mention here. There is a really booming startup ecosystem, especially in Lausanne and Zurich. Lausanne actually even more than in Geneva. Reason being that this is where you have the most, in terms of universities. I mean, Zurich and Lausanne are the most prominent ones, and where you have really a talent pool, especially young talent pool, which is very high. Yes, ETH and EPFL, as Stefan is mentioning. Thank you. Plus, I mean, now if we speak about the HEC community, so we have alumni who are obviously working for the large companies, some in the NGOs, a lot actually in, like me, individual consultants, very small companies, but doing a lot in the services activities, professional services. I would say what is good with the very diverse economy in Switzerland is that you, if there is one sector which is in crisis, like for instance, this year it's luxury goods, I mean, watchmaking, hospitality is really in a deep crisis, but then you have financial services, banks are doing good. I mean, they were not so good 10 years ago, but this year, I mean, they are doing good. Pharma is doing good. And so you have always a balance, and you have always activities which are doing well, even if others are more struggling. Now, this being said, it's a very, again, solid economy, unemployment very low. I think it's still something around 3 to 5%, depending on the cantons. In terms of, you know, how you, if you want to go to Switzerland, what are kind of the tips I could share with you? First, I mean, it's a bit like Belgium. I mean, Switzerland is not France, even in the French-speaking part. So let's be careful. You cannot just assume that if you go to Lausanne or Genève, it will be like in Paris or in Lyon. First, it's a federal country. So every canton is a country of its own. And even between Geneva and Lausanne, there are a lot of differences. It's two separate worlds, only 60 kilometers, but two separate worlds. Zurich, obviously, is the biggest city. It's a German speaking, but English is very, very widely spoken there. I lived there for 4 years, so I know it's really Zurich's very wealthy and a booming city in terms of economy. I didn't mention, I mean, it's a bit like in Germany, you have these hidden champions, like medium-sized companies, but I would not recommend so much for alumni coming from outside Switzerland, because these companies are very Swiss in terms of, you know, they usually trust the local people. It's more difficult to penetrate. Could be, but it's normally, very often it's more difficult. Now, in terms of, you know, what you should do to be successful? First, I mean, it's not a legend. I mean, quality, excellence are the key words here. Whatever you do, it's part of the culture. Swiss philosophy: you work hard, never complain. It's part also of the Protestant culture, which is quite developed in those big cities, Geneva, Lausanne, Zurich. Enjoy the beautiful country, because the country is really beautiful, whatever the season. So it's a great place to be. There are opportunities. Never forget that it's also a very demanding country. So if you want to succeed here, you really have to be good and demonstrate talent. Obviously, they can afford also to attract the best people, because salaries are high. But I can encourage people, if they want to live in a country where there is a strong economy and big opportunity. Yeah, somebody asking about Basel. Yeah, actually Basel is a bit, I mean, we don't go very often to Basel. I think the community is quite small there, maybe apart from a few people in the pharma. I guess that a significant number of them must live in the Alsace area. But it's probably an area maybe where if there are people from Basel, actually, they should contact me, because we should try to do something there.
And again, that's a great wrap up, Olivier. Feel free to contact Olivier specifically about regions, and I'm sure he'll be able to share more information.
Yeah. Just to conclude, I mean, we have a chapter committee, 8 people, 7 members at the moment, and so I'm not alone. Okay.
Thanks, Olivier. We're moving on to Portugal. And Clémence is going to represent Luis and present Portugal to us.
I guess you meant Christopher, right? Okay, no problem.
I didn't mean Christopher. I'm sorry, Christopher.
No problem, no problem. I'm also new to the chapter, so well, what can I tell you about the chapter itself? Is going to be tricky for me to give you accurate figures, because I joined recently. Like Luis asked me to join this chapter and to act as a vice president, maybe to organize and to make it a bit more dynamic. It's not the most active, and I don't think it's the biggest network indeed of HEC alumni students. That being said, it's increasing with many more people moving to Portugal for various reasons. I'm moving myself for work, so I'm working for BNP Paribas, and I created a trading platform for BNP 6 years ago, and I'm now also managing the risk activities for Portugal and Spain. Maybe a few things about Portugal is like, well, on top of being a quite attractive country for the quality of living, so maybe not competing with Germany or other countries, but still having, you know, the beach at 20 minutes from the city center, having sun 350 days a year, it's also quite interesting. But well, on top of that, as I'm sure you know, it's been an attractive country for three main I would say drivers for people. The first one is the fact that the quality of life and the life is cheaper. So a lot of companies have decided to build some services center in Portugal. The second thing is the attractiveness in terms of tax. So you were mentioning some tax advantages. It's pretty interesting here in Portugal, because you have a tax cap at 20% for the people who haven't been working in the country for the last 5 years. And this is up and running for 10 years, with a special status called a non-habitual resident. And on top of that, especially for the one who have personal companies and who knows about the Malta concept, the treaty between Malta and Portugal on dividends is the only secured one in Europe, and only I would say legally validated one that can allow you to not pay taxes on dividends. And the third layer is regarding, well, it's linked to the tax, but it's mainly big for retired people or people living with royalties, where you have also some very nice advantages. That's also the reason why we have some French, and not only French, but mostly French people from like stars or this kind of things that are moving to Portugal. Regarding the dynamic of the country, it has changed quite a lot. I mean, like when I moved here 6 years ago, I think we were one of the only bank and only industry to try to not only do pure servicing activities from Portugal, but also some added value activities. I mentioned the fact that we created a trading floor. So the idea was not to have only guys picking up the phone, but also people doing some trading and sales activities on top of structuring and quantitative research. The country has a lot to offer on top of this quality of life that I was mentioning before. I think also it could be interesting for the younger generation, because like the quality of life and the fact that you can go surfing between 6 and 8 and go to work, take a break in the afternoon, go surfing again, and then come back to work. It's quite interesting. And yes, and even on top of the French network, on the HEC network, what I'm seeing is a lot of way more people moving to Portugal, because they're quite like to remotely work from here, especially in the pandemic we're all living through. But also with the dynamic of new way of working or new way of investing. I'm quite happy because like when I moved here 6 years ago, the international crowd was not that as developed as today. Today, the international crowd in Portugal is really well developed. English is the business language. Everyone speaks good English here. And the country, I mean, the Portuguese people have something with languages, so they speak very, very good English as well. But in the mindset of investors and people moving here is quite interesting, because you see more and more talented people with very, very good backgrounds who are moving here because they want to mix this quality of life with a background of smart people, but together with an equilibrated life that at least personally I didn't find during my years in London or in the US. Well, that's pretty much it. And I think we're already late on timing. So if you have any specific question, please don't hesitate to liaise with me. You have my contact here. I'm on LinkedIn. And I'll be happy to share around Portugal and Lisbon.
Thank you, Christopher. Perfect timing as well. So our sincere thank you to all our alumni speakers and presenters today, and to the international offices for their support. We hope that this gives you an idea of the opportunity, an opportunity to strengthen your network, your HEC network in Europe. And here are some contacts in other countries. So you can find these on hecalumni.fr. Now, it is impossible to share everything in just an hour. We realize that. So we will send you slides prepared by each chapter with further information. And make sure you keep an eye on hecalumni.fr for upcoming events, and you can link directly to the chapters to receive invitations and their news. You can also reach out individually. There's some groups there's some chapters that have WhatsApp groups, LinkedIn pages, newsletters. We just ask that you use your common sense, of course, when reaching out to our busy alumni and respecting their time, of course. So to wrap up, and from experience, may I highlight that the network is as valuable as the amount of effort and time you put into it and nurturing it. So now, in order to meet your expectations, even further on local information, we are going to put in the chat box a link to a survey. So we encourage you to fill in a quick survey to give us your feedback on this presentation. And you can always reach out to myself or Clémence for questions or suggestions. On this note, this brings us to the end of our Booster HEC Network in Europe presentation. Many thanks again to all our speakers, and we look forward to hosting our next regional webinar series on Americas early 2021. Thanks again, everyone, for being here.